had I watched Fanboys maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have got anything out of it. But I have spent the last year and a half getting quite addicted to Star Wars, particularly Carrie Fisher. And I thought the time was finally right for me to watch this. And I have to say that it's pretty decent. It's a film of two halves. The first half I wasn't that bothered about. But actually, once it really gets going, there's a really strong sentimental thread running right through it, which makes this fun, slightly goofy film something actually really important. So this was released in 2009 and is directed by Kyle Newman. Screenplays by Adam F. Goldberg and Ernest Cline. And the description from IMDb is as follows. Star Wars fanatics take a cross-country trip to George Lucas's Skywalker Ranch so their dying friend can see a screening of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, before its release. And that's where the emotion comes in. It's not a sad film. For the most part, it's quite easy to forget that one of the guys is dying. Obviously, there's this possibility that Linus will die before The Phantom Menace is released, so they make it their mission to give him the chance to see it. And I think that's lovely. Obviously, the fact that they're going on a road trip to break into the Skywalker Ranch is a bit dodgy. But the idea behind, having grown up with the Star Wars films, the three ones, and, not getting to see the next one, and making it his last mission in life, I guess, to see it is really lovely, and it really shows the power of cinema and how a film can really impact a person's life. And the film really does kind of portray that really well. These lads have been... I've never said lads before, it's not my lingo. These guys have never... they're obsessed with Star Wars. They know everything about it, and you can really feel their enthusiasm and their passion straight away from them being dressed as stormtroopers to the fact that they have the Rebel Alliance logo on the side of their van and Star Wars curtains. And this is a Star Wars film. It's a fan film. It's for fans of Star Wars. If you've never seen Star Wars, I don't think you'll get anything out of it at all. And it's rare that a film is so restrictive in its target audience. Because even like parodies and spoofs, which it isn't, but even those kind of films, even if you've not seen the original source material, there's going to be something in the film for you. Maybe if you're an anti-Star Trek fan, if you don't like Star Trek, you might get something out of it because there's a bit of rivalry between the two fandoms. And for somebody who's seen Star Trek but isn't that bothered, I thought that was pretty cool. There is one other thing in this that makes it amazing for Star Wars fans, and that's Carrie Fisher. She's in it for about 2 minutes. She plays a nurse. She's in it maybe an hour into it. But she's fantastic. And there is something that happens that I just thought was amazing with her character. I'll talk about that at the very end because I don't want to spoil anything before that. Normally I don't like road trip journeys, and the actual development of the narrative I wasn't that taken with. It wasn't that action-packed. Nothing particularly interesting happened on the road trip. The actual narrative itself, while sentimental and worthwhile, the development of it was not that great. The pacing wasn't fantastic. It took a little while for things to get going. But what kept me engaged was the constant Star Wars referencing. The dialogue's brilliant. They're making fun of each other with Star Wars and referencing different characters, calling each other different names. There's a funny anecdote about what somebody accidentally did one time with a lightsaber. There's a name they all gave their right hand, which is very sinister, particularly as that person's in the film, kind of. But honestly, the script is amazing. The dialogue is beautiful if you're a Star Wars fan. It's just constant Star Wars referencing, and I love that so much. The team behind this obviously know their stuff. They know what they're doing, and the actual concept as well is really lovely. It's also worth bearing in mind that this was released in 2009, but it's set in 1999 before The Phantom Menace is released, and I feel like they did that very well as well. Kind of that little bit of time travel back 10 years, because it's not that long ago that they're trying to go overboard with it. It's subtle enough that it feels believable, and I like that a lot. I have zero complaints about this. As I said, the pacing's a bit off, the narrative development isn't great, but because of the fact that it's a film about Star Wars, aimed at Star Wars fans, and Carrie Fisher is in it, I can forgive the poor pacing and the shoddy, middle-of-the-road narrative. But it does get quite emotional. I do think, actually, okay, 2 spoilers from now. I've done talking about everything else. So spoiler 1. And this is a big spoiler, they really brush over the fact that Linus died. Like, it's kind of obvious, but there was no indication that had happened. You just have to deduce from the situation what did happen. And I wish there'd just been a little bit more of a nod to his character in that final scene. The closing dialogue, didn't really care for it, didn't think it was in keeping with the rest of the film, but I can see why they did it. And the other spoiler is, well, Carrie. First of all, can you imagine being I'm not sure how old the cast would have been at the time, but let's say teenage, early 20s Star Wars fan. I'd assume they're all Star Wars fans. You'd have to be a bit of a fan to sign up to this kind of project. Getting to kiss Carrie Fisher. Can you imagine? It was only a split second, but mind blown. And the fact that Carrie was saying some of Han Solo's lines, I love you, I know, it just amused me. I really liked it. There are so many things in this. The more I watch Star Wars, the more I'll probably even get out of it with a rewatch. And while I said the development isn't great, I still want to watch it again. Maybe once I've watched the Star Wars films a second time, as I've only seen each one once. But once I watch them a second time, I think I'll probably rewatch Fanboys. It's currently on Amazon Prime. And see what else I get from it. Personally, I loved it. If you're not a Star Wars fan, by all means give it a go, but I don't think you'll get anything from it. But as somebody who's relatively recently a Star Wars addict, I thought it was pretty great.